Blind date on Christmas Eve. The poor single mom arrived late, but the CEO waited anyway. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing how far our story travel. It was Christmas Eve. The kind of night where snow falls slow like it's got nowhere else to be. Streetlights hazy under the frost, and every couple passing by looks like they stepped out of a postcard. Inside Fiona's, a small restaurant tucked between a flower shop and an old bookstore. The air smelled like cinnamon butter and warm bread, jazz whispering from ceiling speakers like a memory someone left playing. And there, in the far corner by the frosted window, sat Adrian Hale, black suit sharp, wristwatch expensive, but eyes tired in a way money couldn't fix. The waiter had already refilled his water twice, offered menus 3 times, even slid him a polite pity smile once, the kind people give when they're sure you've been stood up. 40 minutes had passed, then an hour, yet he didn't leave. He just stared at the door, every few seconds like he was expecting a miracle to walk through it. Most men would have given up, shrugged, and gone home to their penthouse and wine shelf. But Adrian wasn't most men tonight. Something in him, maybe hope, maybe loneliness so heavy it started pretending to be patience, kept him rooted there. Staff whispered near the counter. He's handsome, rich maybe. Who waits that long? And he overheard, but instead of being annoyed, he smiled like he deserved that wait, like maybe the universe owed him one gentle surprise. He didn't check his phone once. He just sat there, hands folded, breathing slow, as if leaving would mean he was walking away from something he didn't want to lose, before it even began. And then the door flew open. Wind rushed in like a cold sigh, snow scattering across the floor, and a woman stumbled inside, cheeks red from the cold, hair messy like she'd run the whole way here. Maya Brooks, young, beautiful in a tired kind of way, coat too thin, boots scuffed, clutching a tiny girl bundled in a pink blanket against her shoulder. She was breathless, apologizing before she even looked up. "I'm so sorry. The babysitter canceled. My boss kept me late. The bus stalled. Please tell me." "I'm not too late." When her eyes finally met Adrian's, she froze, expecting an empty table, expecting disappointment, expecting a man gone like every other good thing in her life. But Adrian just stood slowly, pulling out the chair across from him with a gentle smile that hit her like warmth after too much winter. "You came," he said, simple but real. Like those 2 words carried a year's worth of waiting. Maya blinked, confused. "You stayed?" He nodded. "I thought whoever was meant to sit here might just be worth waiting for." She laughed under her breath, soft, shaky, the kind of laugh someone gives when they're not used to kindness. Little Lily peeked up sleepily, staring at Adrian like he was Santa in disguise. He offered the seat, asked softly, "Is it okay if she sits with us?" No judgment, no sigh, just warmth. Maya settled Lily on her lap, still embarrassed, still catching her breath, but her shoulders eased the moment she sat down. And just as the tension finally melted between them and the restaurant owner walked out front, voice shaky as he tapped a glass for attention. "Everyone, I have an announcement. Tonight will be our last night open." The room fell silent. Maya's face went pale, eyes wide with something more than shock, something like heartbreak. And Adrian noticed. The announcement hung in the air like the moment after a dropped glass. Silence. Disbelief. Then quiet whispers spreading through the restaurant like ripples on water. The owner, Mr. Alvarez, voice trembling but steady enough to hide years of exhaustion, continued. "It's been 27 years. But debts, repairs, slow winters, we can't keep up. After tonight, Fiona's will close for good." A murmur of sadness moved through the room, couples pausing mid-bite, a woman at the bar holding her chest, a young waiter wiping his eyes like he didn't want anyone to notice. Maya stared ahead, lips parted, panic rising not for herself, but for memory. She looked down at Lily, brushing a curl away from her forehead, then whispered to Adrian without even meaning to, like the words slipped out of her heart before her brain could filter. "My mom used to work here." Adrian turned to her slowly, his curiosity gentle instead of probing, and she swallowed, eyes shining as candles flickered around them. "She'd bring me here after her shift when I was little, leftover rolls wrapped in napkins, Stories about customers she loved. Dreams she swore I'd chase. Her voice cracked, barely holding steady. She passed away when I was 19. This place is the only piece of her left that I can still... Hutch! Adrian watched her, not with pity, but with an ache like her words had settled somewhere deep inside him. Maya laughed once, small and broken but honest. I know to most people it's just a restaurant, but for me, it's home, the kind you don't pay rent on, but you carry in your bones. She sucked in a breath, embarrassed she'd said so much to a man she'd only just met. But he didn't look away, not once. Instead, he leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low, like he didn't want to interrupt the moment life had just handed them. Places like that don't just disappear, he said softly. Not if someone cares enough to fight. And for a second, Maya forgot how tired she was, forgot the late bus, the shift she nearly cried through. All she saw was a man who listened like every word she spoke mattered. Mr. Alvarez tried to smile through the sadness. Tonight everything is half off. I want people to remember us warm. The staff moved slower now, like they were walking through memories instead of tables. But laughter began rising again, bittersweet, gentle, because people were trying to savor what was left. Maya wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed, grabbing a menu and pretending she was fine. But Adrian saw the way her hand shook, and instead of calling attention to it, he asked the waiter for 2 soups, extra bread, and warm milk for Lily, like he already understood comfort better than fancy dining. The waiter nodded, grateful. Maya exhaled. You didn't sign up for all this, she muttered, gesturing awkwardly around the emotional room, her lateness, her child. The shutdown news, chaos wrapped in a date invitation. Adrian chuckled, shaking his head lightly. Maybe this is exactly what I signed up for. She looked up, surprised, but before she could reply, Lily suddenly reached her tiny hand toward Adrian's watch, fascinated by the shine. Instead of pulling away, he loosened it and placed it in her palms like he'd do it 1,000 times if she asked. The moment was small, but it changed something. The way Maya looked at him, softening like ice beneath the first touch of spring. Outside, more snow began falling, thicker now, sticking to the glass in lazy patterns. Something about the night felt like it was holding its breath. As soup arrived, Maya whispered, I wish I could just buy this place. Fix the roof, keep it alive. Not for business, but for memories. For people like my mom who believed love was served here. She laughed quietly. But dreams like that don't belong to people scrambling. Rent. Adrian didn't answer right away. He just stared at the restaurant, every chipped tile, every handwritten recipe pinned near the kitchen door, every photo of smiling customers. On the wall, like he was seeing, something others overlooked. And while Maya fed Lily tiny bites of bread, Adrian reached for his phone under the table, his eyes thoughtful, calculating, as if gears had begun to spin. He typed a message, quick, decisive, then locked his phone without explanation. Maya didn't notice, but the audience would. A seed had been planted. A man who waited for her in the cold was now planning something bigger. And he didn't do it for show, not for ego, but because one woman whispered a dream like it was too small for her hands, and he couldn't stand that. The night wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Because sometimes the right arrival happens late, but perfectly on time. Blind date on Christmas Eve. The poor single mom arrived late, but the CEO waited anyway. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you watching from. We love seeing how far our story travel. It was Christmas Eve. The kind of night where snow falls slow like it's got nowhere else to be. Streetlights hazy under the frost. And every couple passing by looks like they stepped out of a postcard. Inside Fiona's, a small restaurant tucked between a flower shop and an old bookstore. The air smelled like cinnamon butter and warm bread. Jazz whispering from ceiling speakers like a memory someone left playing. And there, in the far corner by the frosted window, sat Adrian Hale, black suit sharp, wristwatch expensive, but eyes tired in a way money couldn't fix. The waiter had already refilled his water twice, offered menus 3 times, even slid him a polite pity smile once, the kind people give when they're sure you've been stood up. 40 minutes had passed, then an hour, yet he didn't leave. He just stared at the door, every few seconds like he was expecting a miracle to walk through it. Most men would have given up, shrugged, and gone home to their penthouse and wine shelf. But Adrian wasn't most men tonight. Something in him, maybe hope, maybe loneliness so heavy it started pretending to be patience, kept him rooted there. Staff whispered near the counter. He's handsome, rich maybe. Who waits that long? And he overheard, but instead of being annoyed, he smiled like he deserved that wait, like maybe the universe owed him one gentle surprise. He didn't check his phone once. He just sat there, hands folded, breathing slow, as if leaving would mean he was walking away from something he didn't want to lose. Before it even began, dinner moved slowly, like time itself didn't want the night to end. Lily eventually fell asleep on Maya's lap, tiny breaths soft against her sweater. And Maya stroked her daughter's hair absently, almost forgetting the world around them. Adrian, meanwhile, seemed unusually quiet, but not distant. He watched the dim lights reflected in the window, candle flame flickering between them like a heartbeat. After a moment, he cleared his throat, voice low, steady. Maya, when you talk about this place, your eyes light up, like you're remembering a home more than a restaurant. Maya smiled faintly, brushing away a tear she hoped he didn't see. It was where my mother laughed, where she taught me how to make jokes when life was breaking. This place saved us more times than I can count. I just wish... She stopped herself, embarrassed to finish the thought. Adrian leaned forward. Wish what? She exhaled. Wish I had something to fight for it with. Money. Power. Anything. Adrian studied her in silence, his jaw tightening with a decision he'd already made hours ago. Maybe the very second she said my mom worked here, a quietness settled between them, the kind that only exists when two strangers start to feel less like strangers. Then Mr. Alvarez stepped forward again, one last toast, voice breaking. Thank you for loving Fiona's. From tomorrow, the doors will close. Glasses clinked. Tears fell quietly, and someone at the bar began humming a Christmas song off-key but beautiful. Maya held her sleeping daughter tighter, whispering into her hair. Goodbye, Mama's place. And that was when Adrian stood, slowly, pulling a folded document from his coat like he'd rehearsed the moment. Mr. Alvarez, he said, voice carrying across the room just enough to hush conversation. Before you close those doors, I'd like to talk. Heads turned, forks paused midair. Even the jazz seemed to lower itself respectfully. Maya blinked, startled. Adrian? But he only glanced back, small smile forming like he already knew the ending no one else could see.